Thursday, January the 22nd, 2026. Good morning and welcome to the Morning Brief. I'm Kayode Okikulu.
See how January is running pretty fast.
Oh, yeah.
Good morning. Welcome to your perfect morning starter on Channels Television. I am Bukola Koka.
And I'm Jeffrey Uzal, as always, to bring you up to speed with what's happening around the country and perhaps across the world. Guys?
Yes, we're still keeping our eyes on the event in Kaduna State, the abduction of 177 people from churches in Kaduna local government area. We've had conversations upon conversations, spoken with the police on that. So it's something we're following, but we can tell you that the police say they are working on getting the abducted victims out of the kidnappers' den, the terrorist den, in collaboration with other security agencies. The messaging, yes, has been a mess from the scratch. In fact, it looks like with every new messaging, it sort of just makes a mess of a previous one. But what's most important right now is rescuing these victims. So we're glad that they have acknowledged, they've accepted that indeed it happened. I'm not sure there's been an apology for the way it was handled, but as I said, what is more important right now is getting those people out safe. And you see the governor, they're visiting after 2 days of denial from both the police, the commissioner in the state, even the local government chairman. But it's good to see that they've sprung to action now.
Well, Kayode, you're very apt in your opening commentary on the events in Kaduna. The messaging is at the heart of the matter. I emphasize, just as I did yesterday, that as important as it is to get back the 177 people, well, by the way, reports suggest that one or two, escaped from that abduction incident that occurred on Sunday. One or two, we don't have their names yet, but the messaging is at the heart of the matter this morning. And, it's quite unimpressive, the performance of, and we must call it for what it is, the performance of the Force PR yesterday on our sister political program. There was no apology, and there was still inconsistency in the response to the seeming contradiction in the statement put out by the police and the Kaduna state government as against what was eventually discovered. It's a failure of the management of the situation on every level, a failure of intelligence, because if you're telling us that the police commissioner deployed, immediately reports of an attack was got, and there was no confirmation to that effect. And so what was different between that time and when the confirmation was now secured? How can you be telling us that the people of the community could not confirm the attack? So who confirmed the attack eventually? Because we spoke with the press officer of the Christian community yesterday on our program, and he said that they were in fact told to deny. The youths of the area were told to deny. So it's a failure of intelligence, it's a failure of response to such a situation, and a failure of deterrence. In a standard security procedure, there should be a police formation within every 12 miles of a habitation. But what we have in Nigeria currently leaves much to be desired. Mr. Buhari did tell us yesterday that most of the communities in Kaduna local government area, and indeed in much of southern Kaduna, are vulnerable. And we know what that means. There are no police formations. The only deterrents we have are what is found on highways with military officials performing patrols and checks. And so we now have our people in these areas. They've been left in agony. Their loved ones have been kidnapped from about 3 churches, by the way, 2 denominations, Equa Church and Celestial Church of Christ. But we must also acknowledge the work, the effort of the Kaduna state government in the last 2 years or so since the assumption of Governor Obasani. We've had a bit of stability in southern Kaduna, unlike what obtained before, where there were constant attacks and unprovoked killings and practically no deterrence. But of course, there are still concerns in that area. If conversations from indigents coming through are anything to go by, there's still, pockets of attacks that happen now and again. And so we call on the police and indeed the entire administration to demonstrate the political will to rein in on insecurity in every part of the country. I mean, the police is confirming the attack about 3 days later. But the U.S. congressman who visited on a fact-finding mission last year had already tweeted this about 2 days ago. And so it says a whole lot about our approach to managing security in the country. Jeffrey.
I think you guys have said all that needs to be said. I was listening to Benjamin Ndeng yesterday. It was literally grasping at straws. I know the arrogance of trying not to say where we were wrong, we're sorry. And I'm like, you were wrong, you were wrong. I said there was a lame excuse, and he was doubling down on those lame excuses, trying to use semantics to explain what was it. I think they know they messed up, but that is not the most important thing. It's the beginning of the failure. But as Bukola said, we must recognize the effort of the state government in keeping the peace for the last 2 years. They've done quite well. So this was more like a bad sport, a blight in the entire effort. So sometimes I can understand the idea behind trying to, make things look good, but it blew up on everybody's face. But the police, you've done a great work in the past. When you are wrong, just say you were wrong. The commissioner was very clear when he was saying what he was saying. Literally going from that statement we read, more like in my own words, the handiwork of mischievous elements who want to ruin, the reputation that has been gained in terms of the security situation. Those were me translating some of his words. So coming to say at no point did he deny, that is just grasping at straws. You guys were wrong, you were wrong. There are no other way to say it. But the most important thing now, that has passed. I hope you've learned your lessons. Don't be hasty. You know what a holding statement is. You know what a categorical statement is. Those are basics of PR that nobody needs to teach you. So next time, do your job properly, professionally, or manage your communication a bit more effectively. But right now, over 160 or 170, depending on the number and who you're listening to, are missing. Or let's not say they are missing, they're in the hands of our doctors. We don't know whether they've asked for any ransom yet, I'm not sure. But that's the reality, is to get those guys out of that place and restore the peace that has been enjoyed in southern Kaduna for the last 2+ years. Because that was really a very bad spot on Nigeria's conscience. Southern Kaduna was ground zero in terms of insecurity. Southern Kaduna was like a crime scene for the government of Kaduna State and Nigeria. This administration managed to use whether it's non-kinetic method, and we've seen some successes. So we'll continue to balance the conversation that there has been successes, but now it's like we're returning back to the old days. We need to quickly nip this in the bud as soon as possible, guys.
Oh, yes. So kidnapped victims still out there from Ekwa and the CNS Church. They must be brought back to safety, and there must be enough protection. And we must do right by these people, because you can't begin to imagine the emotional trauma that they'll go through during their time in captivity. So while we keep watching what is playing out in Kaduna State, let's switch our attention quickly to education. Because I know right now a lot of people are preparing for school. A lot of our children, wards, and the rest, for those prepping for adult education later in the day, will come to you. But for those, for young Nigerians who are going to school, particularly polytechnics, well, the Minister of Education didn't quite mince words yesterday. Dr. Tunji Alausa, who was, speaking at this meeting, a workshop with leadership of polytechnics nationwide. And you know what he said, guys? He said, you guys should be ashamed of yourselves, because over 50% of the courses being offered in the institutions as polytechnics are management and social sciences. Yes, for polytechnics. And he believes that this contradicts the skill acquisition, renewable energy, agriculture, technology, which forms part of the aim of institutions and, of course, contributes directly to Nigeria's sustainable development. So it says that BTech certificates will no longer be issued to persons studying accounting, mass communication, among others. Only those within the engineering and technical department will be getting the BTECs. I know it actually sounds funny. You study accounting and what? You get a BTEC? Or you are studying accounting in a BTEC institution of sorts. But I think this also is some sort of good news. It speaks to the fact that polytechnics will now be elevated to be given the B certificates instead of the NDs and the HNDs, which we have known. So it's a mixed bag, but clearly we need to do better with technical education. I mean, TVET is a thing right now, and it actually earns a lot of money. But a lot of people overlook it and say, no, you need to study accounting. You need to study medicine. Come on. I mean, we can't just have all doctors or all lawyers or all accountants in this world. We need those who have technical skills as well. So it's going to be a very big debate, guys, the back and forth between the polytechnics who say, well, it's what people want, we're offering them. But clearly, we have a dearth of technical skills.
My question is, whose mandate is it to push for accreditation of other degrees in the polytechnic institutions that will bring it at par with other tertiary institutions in the country?
Well, the institutions usually push for it. So they say, well, we want to get accreditation for this course. We have the facilities, we have this and that. So they say, please give us accreditation. That's how it works usually. But the onus clearly is on the ministry itself through its organs that oversees either, we're not talking universities, we're talking polytechnics, to look at it and say, well, this is what you're made for, right? Then this is what you should do. But clearly, we know that there's a lot of lobbying for schools saying, accredit us for this particular course.
Well, then we'll have to do our checks to find out if indeed management of polytechnics had in the past pushed for accreditation of other degree courses to bring it at par with other tertiary institutions before we conclude that the minister was right in his position to lambaste the management of polytechnics for not leveling up as the case may be. But then again, the move is in the right direction, to ensure higher degree is awarded to polytechnics to end this dichotomy. The other day we had that doctor who is, pushing for more loans to be awarded to technical courses in polytechnics because we need more people of skills, in a knowledge-driven economy that we're building. And nobody's paying attention. We hope after that interview that somebody is now beginning to pay attention. But we shouldn't, continue in, our high horse by overlooking some of those technical courses that are awarded by polytechnics. Because if you were to embark on a constructional work for a building now, I'm sure you would probably get people from outside Nigeria for those hands-on skills, for the finishing of your home. But what happened to people who should acquire those skills who are Nigerians? So that is also a very critical part of the conversation. I don't know how you're weighing in on this.
I don't know if we can listen to the minister, guys, so we can put this in proper context, what the minister said. So if we can take a listen to the Minister of Education, Tunji Lausa.
You polytechnic leaders who've moved away from what you were set up to do. A lot of you today will go to your campuses. Almost 50% of your courses are in management and social sciences. With all due respect, you should all be ashamed of yourself. You were set up to produce skills. Innovation must be heartbeat of our polytechnics. Therefore, I urge you to foster entrepreneurship centers, research hubs, and industry partnership that turns ideas into prototypes, inventions into enterprises, which will graduate into job creators. Government councils and management teams must uphold transparency, accountability, and ethical leadership. Avoid conflicts of interest, ensure prudent resource management, and prioritize merit in the appointments and promotions. The era of impunity in our institutions is over. We demand fiscal discipline, timely audits, and zero tolerance to corruption to build public trust and attract investment.
That was said, you don't blame the omelette for tasting like a bad egg. You were aware that the egg was bad before you made the omelette, right? That is how I look at this. They come to you for accreditation. You have a right to say yes or no. So if you went ahead to accredit courses that are not supposed to be in polytechnic, who is to blame? You're to blame as well. It's like what we say in Lagos sometimes. Why do you allow the building to go all the way up and then you come and bring it down because they didn't follow what rule or they're in the wrong place. So if somebody gave their approval for a course that's not supposed to be in the Polytechnic to be studied, despite the fact that the university had done whatever it is they did, facility, personnel, faculty, to be able to teach that particular course, is for you to simply say, no, this is not why you were set up. And you make a plan to take the people who are already committed to that course to the places where they were set up. So with the greatest sense of respect, I know he's doing a lot of changes. I'm talking about the Honorable Minister, but he should blame the people in the ministry, not just the schools. It's as simple as that.
Fantastic, and I'm sure a lot of them were also there. Did they clap? Did I hear people clapping after he said that?
I don't know who clapped.
Very interesting. But we'll take a moment now, and when we return, we'll take a look at how the front pages are reporting the big stories. So stay with us, we'll be right back. All right, let's get into the front pages. By the way, let's know what you think about the Polytechnic conversation. It's been the elephant in the room for quite some time. So let's know your thoughts on it. But let's switch gears now. We're joined on the program by Mr. Ambrose Igboke, who's the Chairman Guild of Public Affairs Analysts in Enugu State, joins us virtually on the program. Good morning, Mr. Igboke. Welcome to the program.
Good morning to everybody in the studio. It's good to be here.
Well, great to have you. We begin with the Vanguard newspaper. And as you would expect, Vanguard is leading with the Kaduna abductions. Rescue victims now. ACF, CAN, Sokapu, Ekwa, others tell FG. CAN president faults police statements, demands safe rescue of worshippers. Governor Sani proactive despite conflicting reports. That's from Sokapu, Southern Kaduna. That's a forum for Southern Kaduna people. And so it's an act of violence. Release abductees, PFN. ADA demands apology over police LG chairman's cover-up. MBF lampoons police. And you see Governor Sani saying we'll ensure safe return of abducted persons. This really doesn't look good because if really they denied in the first place, you wonder then just how much motivation do they have to really go after them? Right, because once you deny something, it means that you're lethargic. You probably do not want to follow through with it. But Mr. Igboke, what do you make of this?
No, well, first of all, I think it's very sad, despite the efforts the IGP of police has been making recently to reform the police, or posturing that he has been given that his police under his watch is trying to meet best practices. I'm a public relations consultant and reputation manager. The first thing you need to do when you have crisis situation or when you have information to give is to first of all try as much as possible to verify the facts. Ensure that what you're stating is true. But I think most of our government people, from the presidency down to the ministry people, all the departments, agencies, and the rest, they see public relations as a means of defending the actions of their principal, whether rightly or wrongly. And this is what they see it as propaganda tool. They see it as a means of denial, especially when the negative things happen. This should not be it. This is not how PR is. Public relations is about generating goodwill. It's about reputation management. It's about brand reputations as well. So when a police PRO rushes to, without verifying, without waiting for the intelligence reports, you just stay in Abuja, something happened in Kaduna, you have not contacted the military to find out what really happened. You have not contacted the DSS, the NIA, this thing's okay. I mean, you should work together. Then, before you go to the public and deny, something that drastic, that kind of tragedy that occurred, in Kaduna, Southern Kaduna. That is unfair to the victims. That is wickedness to Nigerians because we need to know the truth, and the police cannot deny us of the truth. Coming to why these things keep reoccurring, I don't know whether there's a big magic, because Kajuru and all those places have been flashpoints. So I mean, the common sense suggests that those places that have been flashpoints over more than 10 years ought to be heavily guarded. You know, Southern Kaduna has been a flashpoint, Benue has been a flashpoint, Kogi, Plateau, and some of these places that have been flashpoints over the year. Why are we still leaving them open? Why are those places not heavily guarded? That we always do reactive, we're too reactive, we are not proactive. So people get kidnapped, or we say want to do, before we just, they will issue a press release asking God to come and intervene and wishing the family well. The federal government is with the family in this time of sorrow. If not that President Donald Trump of the United States just 2 months ago issued those threats, and then they make Nigeria a country of particular concern. That is even when the government and that started saying, we rescue. Before the rescue and whatever were left in the hands of the families and the negotiations and the rest. So this is not still good. Despite the $9 million that was paid to lobbyists, and they attend that a screwdriver in somewhere, selling screwdriver somewhere, because America. The New York Times should be, I think they should take, the federal government of the United States should take them to court for ridiculing the United States military, saying that they went to drop billions of naira worth of bombs because of a screwdriver. I mean, these kind of things. Meanwhile, there were congressional hearings in the United States, and so many things, evidence put in before the Congress in the United States, and saying that there's genocide and all those things. Somebody is coming to say that it's a screwdriver. I mean, the person that wrote that article in the New York Times should be sacked, because it is bringing the New York Times to ridicule. But government, instead of government focusing on how to do preventive measures to ensure that these things don't happen, they are busy sending $9 million to a lobbyist. I mean, we keep on just running around in circles of ineffective activities.
All right, let's head to this Nigeria, which is our next port of call now. And of course, this focuses on one of the biggest stories from Wednesday. LP leadership tussle. Court sacks Usman. Court okays Usman rather, I beg your pardon. Abure kicks. Heads for appellate court. INEC ordered to list the Nadi group. Party loses bid to join FCT February 21 council polls. It's like, okay, I wonder if you're weighing in on the implications of this for the seeming unending leadership tussle of the Labour Party, as much as the timing of the delivery of this ruling by the High Court.
I strongly believe that those who are ensuring that the Labour Party does not see the end of the light of the day are those behind these shenanigans going on in the party. For me, I'm postulating that the end product is to ensure that the Labour Party does not even field candidates. Because by the time Abure goes to appeal court, and the appeal court even gives, let's say appeal court gives judgment in his favor, the other party will appeal maybe to the Supreme Court. And if the appeal court does not give in his favor, you can still appeal to the Supreme Court. And at the end of the day, by the time the elections are very close, INEC will tell you, oh, we don't know which party to recommend, or we are waiting for the courts to decide. And just as they're missing out in the Abuja elections, they may miss out in the general elections in the country. Something tells me that this is deliberate. Something tells me this is a playbook to ensure that the Labour Party does not even, have strong showing in the next election. Most of their their biggest assets in the person of P2B has already left the party, and so many others have left. I mean, it's very fortunate that the Labour Party could not ride on the successes that it established during the 2023 elections. One would have thought that by now the Labour Party would have been, the major, opposition party in the country. Going by the feats that are achieved during the 2023 election. But it's unfortunate that the successes rather diminished the party, and the party is almost operating like a carcass.
Interesting times, right? A lot of people are saying, so why did Mr. Peter Obi leave Labour Party? Should he have stayed? he has left now? Or should he just be careful and stay in ADC? Lots of permutations. But we move from this Nigeria to the front page of a Guardian newspaper, and also leads with the Labour Party matter. It's the LP leadership verdict alters opposition politics ahead of 2027. By the way, we have a big conversation for our viewers on the show today, so don't worry. We'll help you get a better understanding of what's at play here and, will I say, what the future holds for the Labour Party. But you see, Mr. Ibuke, you see this World Economic Forum story, Trump swaps consensus for hard power rhetoric as FG showcases reforms. We saw Trump's speech Davos yesterday, and then afterwards he spoke to journalists, and a lot of people were expecting more drama, right? We're expecting earth-shattering, speech from Donald Trump, but he seemed to soft pedal a bit, even though it wasn't still quite clear on the way forward for Greenland. But do you think everybody can at least relax now with Trump's speech in Davos?
I was not one of those that believed that Donald Trump would have just rashly entered Greenland and then with military. Already they have a military base there. They have biggest military base in Greenland. So Trump's style is, kind of the bully style. A kind of negotiation where you go with a superiority complex, you intimidate the opponent, and then you now, backtrack. Having the opponent intimidated, you backtrack and say, okay, cool, we can now talk. At that time, the opponent or the person you're negotiating with is already sufficiently intimidated to give in to your demands. I think that has been a style. And you also have argued severally that America has not optimized its investment in NATO and some other multilateral agencies that it belongs to. So America formed NATO, and America cannot allow NATO to die because NATO acts as a buffer.
Oh dear, it appears as if we have... okay, Dr. Ibuke is back. Go ahead. We could hear you a bit again.
NATO acts as a buffer. NATO acts as a buffer for America because the whole of Europe acts as a buffer between it and Asia and some other countries that could have threatened their military, militarily. So they won't joke with that. And France, United States, and Britain are basically coins of the same make. So the tripartite cohesion between those three countries, I don't think Greenland can stop it. So I think Trump has made enough spread. The European Union leaders are going to meet with him, and then they're just going to negotiate what is going to happen there. And maybe he may just expand his military operations there, allow Denmark to run it, and then all is fine and good. But nothing like that is going to happen. When people are talking about Third World War and the rest, I say, who wants to die? Nobody wants to die. That is why everybody that has nuclear weapon has kept the nuke. They don't want to shoot because Chinese don't want to die, the Russians don't want to die, the Indians don't want to die, the French, British, or even the Americans don't want to die. So all these things are just high-level rhetorics to bargain and then get things done and have concessions here and there. And that is just what Trump is doing. And it has been working for him. And all this talk about the Prime Minister of Canada making all kind of blowing hot air and I just laughed. These things don't work that way. America is deeply entrenched. And these other countries also know what they are getting from the United States. So the United States will not want to rock the boat and lose NATO alliances. That is not going to happen.
And we're going to have a bigger view of that particular outing at the World Economic Forum yesterday on the program, because we also did hear President Trump if you like, soft but a bit of a hardlining stance when he said that he's probably not going to get anything if he didn't use force on Greenland, but he would not use force. And he also remarked on the relief expressed by the audience during that particular speech. So there's that conversation promises to be an interesting one much later on the program. But Dr. Ibuke, let's get to other issues on the front pages now. Speaking of which, taking a look at the Daily Independent, and of course it leads with reactions to Sunday to about Wednesday event in Kaduna, in Kajuru local government to be precise, with calls for accountability coming from the opposition. But under the big picture, on the front page of Daily Independent, is Nigeria's 2026 aviation budget sparks duplication debate. There are details on the inside pages, of course, but this is reminiscent of calls or condemnations of insertions into the 2026 budget by ministries, departments, and agencies. This is despite the fact that there are carryovers of the 2025 and in fact 2024 budget into a new budget year. How does this all impact on the deliverables of the 2026 budget, and of course all the other implications on met demands and expectations of the 2025 budget?
The first thing I think this will cause is that it leaves us, open to guesswork on our fiscal policies, on our budget implementation, on measurements of our GDP, on our economic growth. Because I don't know what kind of country operates this way, where, when you go to corporate entities, or corporate establishments, you see that how those things are done. You choose a financial end of the year, okay? And then you mark it. It could be June 31st, it could be May, it could be any time of the month. It doesn't mean that it must be January, okay? Now you choose your financial fiscal year ending, and then you budget for it, spend what you have to spend, fund deficits, and then you call for audits, and they're audited, and then at the month, the year end, financial year end, serious companies present their audited accounts, and if they have dividends to declare, they declare. If they have losses to declare, they declare. Now, if companies at that level could run this successfully, that fiscal cycle, then it is expected that a country should be able to also manage its budgetary plans that way. And so when we have Nigeria behaving this way, having 3 budgets in the same cycle, of course you expect this kind of duplications, you expect this kind of confusion to continue, because we are talking about 2024 budget. It was not retired, it was not ended, the fiscal year was not audited. We passed 2025 budget. We're running it concurrently. Some people say, oh, it will run to June. Some people say, oh, you retired in July. By July 1st, the new year starts running. But the budget for the new year started from January, and it's supposed to end in December. Now, if you allow the other one to run concurrently with other one, that was what we were seeing until the magic of last year happened, when we are having 3 budgets now running. So when they passed the 2026 budget without really ending the 2024 budget, I became confused. I said, well, I'm not an economist, but there's what we call, we all did our little economics in school, and of course, one has gone through life to know how these things work. I don't know whether the president listens, or whether it is those who are working with him, or the ministries are doing this on purpose. Maybe there's something they are not telling us. But a situation where we have 3 budgets running at this concurrently will lead to duplications, will lead to a lot of fraud, because how do you know you have executed the other one? And then you roll it over to 2025, you roll it over to 2036. Even if the other one has been done, how do you capture it? How do you close your book for the year ending? I think advocacy groups and civil society should take the federal government to court on this matter. Let's have a cycle, a budget cycle. If we don't meet it, the budget performance is very low. Sometimes, especially in capital expenditure, you see sometimes 30% performance, 40%. So why do we budget for the money we don't have in the first place? And then we keep on borrowing. We are not borrowing to even fund the deficit. We are borrowing for other frivolous reasons. This country sometimes defies economic logic, and that we are still standing is a miracle.
And the prayer is that we keep standing strong or get better at this. But Mr. Ibuke, the final one for us is New Telegraph, and leads with war against terrorism. You can almost predict the big stories on the front page at this rate. If it's not about security, it's about, you know, the politics of things. But you see, troops discover mass grave of terrorists killed during clearance operations. Discredit insurgents' propaganda narratives. And there's also the story on the Kaduna abduction denial. But, you know, this is a side of the conversation that must also be told. The great work that our troops are doing in spite of some of the, would I say, the letdowns they have in terms of perhaps infrastructure, in terms of welfare. They still do a yeoman's job, putting their lives on the line, protecting Nigerians. So there needs to be that combating of propaganda from the terrorists as well. Mr. Ibuke.
I remember that when a strike by the United States on December 25th, 2025, after the operation, some people started going around town that, there was nobody killed, not one single, we didn't see dead bodies, we didn't see that. I said, well, it is not conventional war practice is to start showing dead bodies. These things can be done by non-state actors, but state actors don't do that. So you're not expected to be showing. In fact, you're supposed to clear the operational areas before even journalists or people come there. And when you have these photos or videos, it's supposed to be classified and kept for military operations and references, and not for gallery or newspapers or media channels. So I just laughed at that because we are used to showing them, but we don't have value, we don't have sanctity for the human body or for the human being in Nigeria. So we think everybody else performs that way. Dead bodies are not supposed to be displayed. You know, those days of particular mainstream media, you find out that you don't do that. It's when citizen journalism came and with access to internet, and the people who were not trained not to do so are doing so. But also, when terrorists attack villages and the rest, the only proof, because the security agencies and the rest, while they are doing their best, the state, the federal government in most of the cases has failed the people. So the only proof that the people needed to do to show that people were being massacred was to show the pictures and videos. And that was what they have been forced to do, because there were a lot of denials. While we celebrate our military, it's okay to give the numbers, to give the stats. Our military are doing their best. But most of the time, what I always say is the political will, that our military are, you know, are some of the best in the world. But what sometimes don't make them happen, because they're under command and control. They cannot just take their own initiative to just, they have to take orders. And then sometimes it's the political will to execute these things that are missing, because the terrorists and the bandits, or whatever name you call them, have been politicized in this country. The issues are around them. When America said there was genocide, some people say, it was not only Christians that were killed. Imagine the kind of defense that our people bring up. Muslims are killed too, Christians are killed too. That is the defense that instead of saying, okay, give us time, we're going to tackle this, have a timeline of routing it out and the rest. So our military should not be do not have the euphoria to start. For me, even this is classified. They should not even say it, that there are mass graves discovered. Who puts them in mass grave? Is it the government? Is it the troops that said that put them in, or is it the terrorists themselves that buried the mass graves? We need to know this information. But sometimes some information are better classified. And for our troops, it is when the people start feeling safe again that they will really believe that they are working. Every other thing, even though they're working hard to do this thing, one of my bosses in my former places of work told me that it is not the output, that is the activities, the efforts you make and all those things. It is the outcome, the results you get. When people start being safe, and when people can travel without being kidnapped, when communities can stay safe without being invaded by terrorists, and when churches, people can go to churches and mosques and pray without fear of being bombarded, then the people will know that the government is working. But all this thing about discovering mass grave and the rest, and kidnapping are still going on, and people are still kidnapped from their homes and churches, people are still being massacred, then it becomes mere propaganda.
There you go. But there's also the story on the front page at the bottom. Controversy rocks 1 billion naira constituency project fund in Rivers State Assembly as revelation stalls impeachment proceedings. And you see a lawmaker saying we're expecting 650 million naira balance. So there's a mix of politics and real governance issues in Rivers State. While there's a politics around the governor, the lawmakers, there's also the issues about governance, spending of, budgetary expenses, which is the commonwealth of the people of Rivers State. What exactly is it being used for? Because amidst all of this back and forth, it looks like some people are just having a field day with the money of Rivers State and the people themselves. It's a page 2 read for those who are interested. But Mr. Igboke, do you think this is like the biggest casualty in all of this?
Well, I've always maintained that what is happening in Rivers is not for the good people of Rivers State. It's just mere politics. These are, political actors trying to perpetuate themselves in power, trying to take over the levers of control of both political parties and the political structure of the state. These are people trying to grandstand. These are people engaged in ego trips and all those kind of things. The members of the House of Assembly, of course, we know are not acting on their own. They are taking instructions from their godfather. And whatever they are doing is not for the good people of Rivers State. But politicians in Nigeria, they will cloak it, decorate it, perfume it as if they are fighting for the people or fighting for democracy. And we can see that while the Rivers State House of Assembly members were shouting good governance, democracy, we have to protect our democracy, we can see that behind they have a lot of questions to answer in constituency projects allocated to them last year, I think during the state of emergency. They have not accounted for that, and they're asking for more money for appropriation from the governor. So it's a very dirty fight. The money, even if it is 650 million or the 1 billion, what have they done? Some of them will just go and put solar street lights. Some of them will go and paint some primary schools, renovate them, or put some few blocks of health center somewhere. And so it's about accountability. Nigeria, we don't want accountability. We don't even want to interrogate those who are at the helm of affairs. Everybody just wants to. Most people just want to waste for their turn. Or it's a turn of our village man. It's a turn of our party people. It's a turn of the north. Is when it's your turn, enjoy.
Mr. Igboke,
that is how we run this country. It's a pity.
It is, and you forgot to add the borehole as well. Yes, a lot of people who need the borehole, but it looks like that is the MO. There's a list of things they must do. But we have to thank you so much, Mr. Ambrose.
Distribution of sewing machines and motorbikes.
Oh, goodness me, classic. Mr. Ambrose, we have to thank you so much for your time. Chairman Guild of Public Affairs Analysts, Enugu State. Wish you the very best, Mr. Igboke.
Thank you very much for having me on the show.
We'll take a quick break now. When we return, we continue to follow the events in Kaduna State. Nigerians, or they need Nigerians right now to do right by them and to ensure that this conversation stays on the front burner. I'll be speaking with someone from there in a moment. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. Let's bring in our guest and build up on what is playing out in Kaduna State, where the numbers keep changing. So I'll stay safe. Around over 150. We'll have 160. We have 177, 168. But the most important thing is that over 150 persons are now in the hands of kidnappers. We don't know what development yet, whether they're asking for ransom. But let's bring in our guest, Stephen Kefas. He's the founder, Community Development and Rights Advocacy Foundation. He joins us virtually. Mr. Kefas, thank you for coming through. We appreciate you.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
You know, we've talked a lot, and we've been very critical and hard on the communication as far as this security situation is concerned. The reason, perhaps, is because we expect better without disparaging or even dismissing some of the efforts of both government and the police. But for those of you who are very familiar with what is playing out, help us with how you are characterizing this development so far.
Yeah, thank you very much. It is unfortunate that we are still where we used to be, even though to a large extent one could confidently say that there have been some bits of improvement in Kaduna State, for instance. Mass casualty attacks that we used to have 2-3 years ago have gone down, but in Kajuru and Chikun local governments, to be precise, and also Kauru, there's this cases of kidnapping that seems to be on the rise. In July, I toured some communities in Kajuru local government, and it will shock you to know that these areas are places where there's no government presence, there's no road network, no telecommunication network, no electricity, not even a school. And the people living there are at the mercy of these terrorists. So the terrorists just come in for fun, take women and children and take them to the bush. And sometimes they will release one person and say, you go get ransom for us. So these people have been impoverished. They're actually poor before now. And then they've further been impoverished by these terrorists. So it is a very sad situation. So what happened on Sunday is just because the number was kind of high. That is why it made the headline, but it is a daily occurrence in those areas.
I remember that the conversation we had yesterday also pointed to that fact, that I think prior to this point, I think some weeks ago, about 11 people were abducted by these terrorists, and a ransom of about, was it 7 million naira was paid. So it's almost like something they are used to. But I think what even worries a lot more people is the handling of it. The fact that it was denied. So people are beginning to think, if this was denied, how many more may have been denied? How many more may have been overlooked? Because, as you said, it didn't make the news. So it begs the question, what kind of relationship do the people have with security agencies, with the government, such that this will happen and they'll say, it didn't happen. There are people peddling false narratives. If anybody has proof, let them show us. I mean, imagine that kind of statement.
Thank you so much. You brought up this issue. I think the conversation going on in Washington and Abuja may have, to a large extent, influenced how we handle these security challenges. Of course, the Christian genocide narrative, the persecution narrative, and then you have on a Sunday during church service where 177 worshippers were whisked away from their churches, 3 different churches. So, I mean, you wouldn't want that to be in the news. But I think we need to be factual in this conversation. Now, around 10 a.m., 11 a.m. on Sunday, I got the news because I have my network. Because of what I do, I have my network across the state and even different parts of North Central. So my network reached out to me, one of my sources, and said, hey, there's a problem. I said, what happened? He said, a friend just called him from Kurmin Wali, and that's on Sunday, mind you, and said people were abducted from their church during service. And he said the number is over 100. I was like, wow, are you sure? Let's verify. So I put on 1 or 2 calls, and I confirmed the incident. I said, okay. We can't put this out because it's too early. So, but I started seeing the rumor on social media, and then you have the local government chairman on Monday coming to say it never happened. But this is what happened. I'm saying it here with all sense of responsibility. The local government chairman had actually went to the community after the incident, and somehow they told the people that, hey, look, you must not tell the world that this thing happened. We have it under control. We're going to make sure these people are back, but it never happened. You know, I started wondering. So if you notice in the last 72 hours, I was very vocal on social media saying this incident happened, and if the police commissioner thinks I am lying, then he should order for my arrest, because I was so sure. I think I was first to post the list of the 177 people on Facebook. It went viral, of course, but the government, the police and the local government chairman kept denying, they kept grandstanding that it never happened. I went further and posted the pictures of the 3 churches affected. They kept saying it never happened, but you know, eventually the conversation went out of control. They had to admit that this happened. So I agree with you. Even the media is getting tired of reporting what is happening in those areas. Like I said, in July, I was in Company Village, I was in Chibia Village, all in Maro Ward in Kajuru local government area. The former local government chairman, Kafra Kaino, is from Maro. The people there are living in fear. Like, these terrorists come into the village and pack 10, 20 people and take them to their camp. No form of resistance from anybody. You know, so it is their reality. And I'm happy that this conversation is on the front burner now. Maybe that will help increase security presence in Kajuru. I can tell you that a lot of ungoverned communities there, they don't have any presence of government, not security, not education, not healthcare, not road, nothing. They are just there. And when you visit some of these villages, you think you are in maybe a 14th century community. Quite sad.
Reports are suggesting that 1 or 2 persons may have escaped from that attack. Has that come to your notice? Do you have any information to that effect?
Absolutely, absolutely. 11 people escaped, to the best of my knowledge. 11 people escaped. And that is why you see some are saying 160 or thereabouts. So if you say 160, you are correct, because 177 were the original people taken from the church. But of course, because of the large number, sometimes 1 or 2 persons who are bold enough could find ways to escape. So yeah, indeed, 11 people as at Tuesday morning had escaped from captivity. Yeah.
Now, you said earlier that, you know, these communities have serious deficit in certain infrastructure. You mentioned schools, and I can't remember the others. But, you know, we had a local government chairman speak to the press, even though he denied that the event happened. So what is the nature of local government administration in these areas? How can you describe local government administration in these areas?
It is almost non-existent. Maro, for instance, Maro is a ward in Kajuru local government area. So when you drive from Crossing to Maro, the moment you get to Maro, after Maro, there's no road network. In fact, the day I traveled here in July last year, for 2 hours, my wife could not reach me because there's no telecommunication network in Company Village. Company is a village where some worshippers were killed in July. I think mid-July or thereabout, they were shot. I'm sure you guys got the news because you also reported it. Now, when you get there, you are out of this world. There's no road network. We manage on motorbike to get to that village. There's no school. I have pictures of the school. Maybe I'll share with you after this engagement, so you get to see the school they have there. There's no hospital, no healthcare. There's no electricity. So those people do not benefit anything from the government in Company and Chibia. So the only thing they are asking for is let us be alive. You didn't give us road, you didn't give us electricity. We just want to be alive. But even that right to life is being denied, it's been taken away from them. Some of them get killed in captivity when they cannot pay ransom. Some of them get sick in captivity and they ended up dying. These things don't make the news, but that is their reality.
Interesting. So in your suggestion, from what you've seen so far, because Kayode has raised a very important point that has to do with community relations. And what has played out so far is not going to help any form of community relations as we speak. Because I know it takes the cooperation of the community. Sometimes the community are not cooperating, not because they don't want, but because they're afraid. Because they cooperate with you and they leave, the people who come for reprisal. So in your view, and from what you know, what is the way forward for these very ungoverned spaces, these people within these areas that, you know, their life is literally in the hands of God, not anything else, because government is not providing the kind of security they need. What alternative is left for them? And what can government do to win them back?
I must say this with all sense of responsibility. The camp of these terrorists are known. In fact, when I went to Chibia, the villagers could point maybe 2-3 kilometers apart. I couldn't see it because there are trees and all that. They said the camp is just right there. So it is not the matter of having faceless terrorists who are not known, whose location are not known. No, that's not the issue. The issue is the political will, and that is what is lacking. And I've raised this question before. In the Northwest and in the Northeast, you have intense security operations going on, bombardment, area bombardment, and all that. But when you come to the North Central and part of Southern Kaduna, you discover you don't get to see this kind of military bombardment. Yesterday, Benjamin Hundeyi, the police spokesman, said that the police had deployed a helicopter around that area. But it goes beyond just deploying helicopter. What is the helicopter actually doing? You know, so these terrorists, the community that was attacked on Sunday, let me share this. This community, in the last 5 years, they told me that they used to see the terrorists. Whenever the terrorists are coming from an operation, maybe they've kidnapped people from other communities, they pass through this Kurminwali. So Kurminwali has seen this terrorism for a long, long time. In fact, they got so used to it that they never believed that they will also be victims. Because the community is the path where these terrorists, in fact, if people are going to pay ransom, they also pass through that community to go pay ransom. So it has become like a business. It has become the new normal for them. So I think the government must be sincere, because denying that such incidents never happened further puts a form of distrust in the minds of the citizens. And I think the citizens should be able to trust their government. Nobody is saying it's the fault of the government. Of course, the primary responsibility of government is protection of life and property. But when things have gone beyond what government could do, because obviously what we are seeing is that the Nigerian government is not able to tackle this insecurity. And the chairman, I think, he is the closest leader to the people. So I expected him to show empathy, not to try to say, hey, this thing never happened. I mean, denying the suffering of your citizen is the highest form of, I don't know, irresponsibility, I must say.
Imagine having to go through this daily. This is their reality. And I want you to maybe speak to this as we wind down. There have been different reasons given for these attacks, killings, and kidnappings. One, well, the reports around targeted attacks at Christians particularly. I mean, these are churches that were attacked. So there's one. There is the trying to grab people's lands, chase them out of their ancestral homes and take over, rename it and own it. There's a third one, which is pure economic. They are kidnapped for ransom. I mean, the recent one, 11 people kidnapped, 7 million naira said to have been paid. Who knows what kind of negotiation is ongoing right now for these over 160 people that were kidnapped. So there have been different explanations for this. Some have they've gone as far as saying that, well, there's government connivance, or at least people in government are actively aware of what is playing out. But from what you know, what is it for you?
The three are intertwined, and let me explain. In July, a very close friend of mine spent 4 months in captivity. He was released in early October last year. And when he was released, he told me so many things. One of them was that the very day they are coming to pay your ransom, that same day you have suppliers of arms who have brought arms into the camp, and then the ransom will be used to pay them for the arms. Yeah. So it means that the kidnap that is going on is to raise funds to acquire more arms. So it means there's no end in sight. It means this criminality, this terrorism is not going to end anytime soon. Because I was wondering, I said, what do these terrorists do with this money? Because they don't look good, they don't build houses, they don't have cars. But he answered my question when he was released. I debriefed him for 3 hours. And he told me that any day there's a ransom payment on that camp, somebody is bringing arms to supply to the terrorists.
So are they building their own? Are they building their own army, their own militia arm gradually?
Obviously, that is what it means, because in November, in August last year, I had reported that about 3-trailer load of Lakurawa fighters came in from the Sahel, from Niger to Sokoto State. Nobody did anything about it. So these fighters keep coming in, or these terrorists keep coming in, whether from Mali, whether from Niger, and then you already have a system where funds are acquired through ransom payment, and then they use it to acquire more arms. So we don't know what the future holds, because I believe that they are building a stronger network, and that is why it is spreading. You could see Kwara State, Kogi State don't used to be in this conversation, but now you have such activities going on there. So it is a complex issue that the government is not really handling properly. And then talking about whether it's targeted, I believe it's also targeted, because how do you explain that on a Sunday, 177 people were taken away from their churches? And in the same Kajuru, in July last year, 3 people were killed during an attack. They were in the church. So how do you explain it? And the issue of land grabbing, it is true. There are communities, over 40 communities the last time I counted, in Kajuru local government area that have been displaced, some of them occupied by these terrorists. So I think we've lied to ourselves for so long, and if we must get it right, then the government must first and foremost acknowledge what the problem is. Saying it is not genocide, it is not persecution. I mean, if 20 people are killed for no reason, to me it's genocide. In fact, if one man is killed for no reason, I think it's a big crime against humanity, not to talk of 20, not to talk of 50. And these things are happening not just in Kaduna State. I was in Yelwata 5 times after the attack. Yelwata is now a shadow of itself. Nothing has been done there. 258 people, I have the names, were killed in Yelwata. But the argument you hear from the government is, oh, there were 60 people or 100 people. I mean, that should not even be the conversation. The conversation should be that people are being killed, people are being abducted. What do we do to stop it? And I think it goes beyond visiting this community. It is good to visit the community to show empathy. At least that gives the community some sense of fulfillment that, hey, our government is with us. But I think the government must go beyond that. This policy of appeasement, saying these terrorists will not help anybody, because I also have a record that the terrorists most times collect these funds from government and acquire more arms. So as far as the terrorists is concerned, theirs is to just buy arms. They are not ready to build houses with the money they are getting. They just keep acquiring arms. The question is, why are they acquiring these arms? That's the question the government should provide answers to.
Well, a very, very important question there. Why are they acquiring arms? Why are they coming into Nigeria in droves, if indeed it's true that 100 fighters from Niger, Lakra fighters, have accessed Nigeria? Why is it easy for them to access Nigeria? What's happening to ungoverned spaces? So many questions. But let's stay in Kaduna for a bit. You said earlier that you counted 140 or so communities that have been occupied by
40.
140 that have been displaced. So give us a sense of this stability that we're celebrating in southern Kaduna under this current administration, because we know what it was like. We know the constant attacks that the people experienced. So if we're saying that there's a difference in the security outlook in southern Kaduna, what exactly does it mean? Is it a delicate balance of peace?
Thank you so much. I must commend the current governor of Kaduna State. I'm not a politician, but I must commend him. In southern Kaduna, for instance, Zango Kataf, in October last year, I was in Zango Kataf. I was in Gora Bafai, Gora Gan, and some of those villages that initially were not habitable. And I can tell you that people have returned. So kudos to the government. I don't know how they did it, but I think I also saw some deployment of security in Zango Kataf. In 2020 and 2021, and even 2022, Zango Kataf was one of the most affected local government areas in Kaduna State, if not in the entire Northwest, in terms of casualty figures and in terms of consistency of attacks. But Zango Kataf is a bit calm now. We've not had mass killings in Zango Kataf, and also Kaura local government is a bit calm. So most local governments in southern Kaduna are a bit calm. So there's relative peace, even though it looks like peace of the jungle, because sometimes you still have pockets of incidents where people get attacked on their farms and all that. But Kajuru local government is a special case. And I want to believe that some of the terrorists that are being dislodged from the northwest somehow find their way into Chikun and Kajuru. Of course, those are two neighboring local government areas, and also Kachia local government. So, and they have established terror camps in Kachia, in Kajuru, and in Chikun local government. These camps are known. They are not hidden camps. So, I think while the government may have done so well in quelling the tension in southern Kaduna, Zango Kataf, Jama'a, Kaura, but Kauru is also suffering, because in Kauru local government area, and I think because of the proximity between Kauru and Basa local government in Plateau State, of course, Plateau State has been a hotspot for these terrorist activities. So I believe that terrorists from Plateau State get into Kauru local government area in southern Kaduna, and that is why they've been kidnapping in Kauru local government area, and there have been a few attacks leading to casualties in Kauru local government area. So if, as a civilian, I understand these dynamics, I mean, the government that has the resources, the forces to handle this issue should know better, and they should do better. You understand? So the governor has tried, because I think he has shown leadership to a large extent. Things may not be perfect, but to a large extent, I want to commend the state governor. But he needs to do better.
Well, thank you so much. Security is never going to end in insecurity. The conversation around security will never end until our people are safe. But almost thank you, Mr. Stephen Kelfas, founder, Community Development and Rights Advocacy Foundation. Thank you for the work you do. We appreciate it. We'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll continue with the other leg of the conversation. Join us again.
Welcome back, and so we continue with the next leg of our conversation now, and we have joining us virtually this morning public affairs analyst Mr. Andrew Ajayi to look at national development, state of nation, and other matters. Mr. Ajayi, good morning, sir. Thank you for joining us on the program.
It's my pleasure. Good greetings to you all.
And compliments of the season. Let's begin with the opposition party and developments, you know, in that space. We've seen the leadership of one group of the party addressing the press and stating that they're zoning the presidential ticket of the party to the south. And we've seen movements in that, you know, regard as well, with visits to former president and most recently to the former vice president. So what are your thoughts on this development, on how it will enhance the chances of the PDP to take the leadership of the country again?
Well, thank you very much. For me, the Nigerian political situation has been neither here nor there, because the political parties lack, you know, ideologies that are actually critical to political development. Because if parties have ideology that they hand over from one generation to the other in the various parties, then maybe Nigeria political space and system will be better off for it. Whatever opposition that is available today in Nigeria, when you look at when we started democracy or civil rule since 1999 till today, you will see that it is the same people who masquerade themselves. Maybe when something did not favor them inside the particular political party that they are, they will now go to the other one and begin to now do as if they are political generalissimo. So if the opposition party now says they want to, give their presidential ticket to the southern Nigeria, it is only natural, because there is this unwritten, will I say, constitution, or written in the minds of people, that political power should rotate between the north and southern Nigeria. And as we speak now, under the current leadership of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, it is south that is leading, because Buhari did 8 years the other time. So if PDP is saying, or any other opposition party like ADC is saying, let us give our tickets to a southern person, I think it is in order. Even though this is not written in our constitution, but I think it is in order, because if they gave it to the north, now I think there's going to be like some disaffection, and people trying to say we no go agree, we no go agree, we no go agree. Because now is the turn of southern Nigeria to take the political leadership, which President Tinubu has taken the first leg and is also hoping to possibly come back. So for the PDP, if they say they are zoning their own presidential ticket to the south, well, I don't really know what that means, but I think it is still in line with what they are doing. But importantly, I am using this opportunity to emphasize that anybody who wants to go into politics in Nigeria, they must be ideological. Just like what is happening in the United States, in Britain, even in Russia and China, where people stick to the ideology that they have. They may not get political power today. They may not even get it tomorrow or next tomorrow. But as long as they continue to serve as veritable, proper, and right opposition, over time, studying what they will do better than the current ones that are taking the leadership position now, I think Nigerians will begin to appreciate them. But a situation whereby we have a Nigerian political system where if you didn't get a ticket to become House of Rep members or governor or senator or even president, you will leave that political party and jump into another one, I don't think it is good for us and our younger men and women who may also want to, take a dive into politics as, means of helping the Nigerian humanity, or even using politics as a career, okay? Because what is currently happening in the United States, as it has to do with Democrats and Republicans, maybe even in England, as in Labour and Conservatives, and they continue to stick there. Even in South Africa, where they talk about ANC and the rest, sticking to their political parties and not defecting the way we are seeing defection all over in the country, I think we must copy this type of political party arrangement so that we can have more people standing for what is good and what is right, not anywhere my belief is.
I can't help but notice the greenery in your image. I mean, your outfit is green, the background is green, and I get a sense that you are a patriot in that sense. You love Nigeria. I won't be shocked if you bleed green as well. But
thank you.
We should probably check that
observation. Thank you for this observation indeed.
But here goes my point. While it looks like there are a lot of people who are interested in this Project Nigeria, and I'm talking politicians, they are actively involved, either trying to do their permutations, get in power, be close to power, have some sort of leverage, because it looks like this Project Nigeria is very juicy for them. You have people on the flip side who don't seem to see anything about this Project Nigeria. So they're either disconnected, they're just removed from that reality. Once you talk about governance, politics, Nigeria, they tune off. For some others, they're leaving the country in droves. So how is it that you're still actively involved in that Project Nigeria without being a politician, right? Is there anything you see that those other people do not see?
Well, thank you very much. You see, first and foremost, I am a philosopher. I studied philosophy from the University of Benin, where we looked at various books that has to do with nation building, philosophies of Thomas Hobbes, John Locke, Jean-Jacques Rousseau, Aristotle, Plato, and what have you. During my sojourn in philosophy, we try to see that the essence for which we have government is nothing more than the security and welfare of the people. And anybody who wants to come into politics, who wants to serve society, must be selfless. They must not behave like what we see of the Nigerian politicians who mount the soap boxes. At the end of the day, make all manner of promises, but no sooner than they get into the political offices that they either got into either by hook or crook, than they start to, exhibit or reflect their true character in terms of corrupt tendencies and practices and outright embezzlement. And that is why Nigeria has bleeded. A nation that has so much resources, that is supposed to go around everybody in happiness, so that we don't travel to Canada or US or UK because we are running away from Nigeria because there is hardship, economic hardship in the country. Our nation is fully blessed. The only thing we don't have is that we don't have people who love the country. What is patriotism, like you rightly said? Patriotism is nothing more than the love for your country. Look at the way Donald Trump is saying, look, America first. America first. Our politicians, since 1999, when we entered this democratic practice, do you see what do? They don't consider Nigeria best. That is even why, for me, I have been talking about character reformation, the elements for building a successful nation. I have also been asking this question: the Nigerian versus corruption. Who wins? Who wins? Because corruption is in our behavior, is in our behavioral pattern, our attitude, our orientation, such that we are disdained, we are talked against, we are talked down by fellow other human beings in the world. But I still believe that we have good men and women, like those of you in the studio now, okay, who will continually take these issues and have proper discussion that will help to now give better orientation to the Nigerian citizens, so that when they get into politics, they will become men and women who have clear conscience and good conscience, who have the true service attitude, not coming into any political position in the country. All they are just interested in is me, myself, my family, and my friends, a contract that is supposed to be 1 million, for instance, to provide CCTV cameras, to be helping us monitor bandits, and making sure that crime and criminalities are nipped in the bud or brought down to 0 level, and making sure that no attempt by any group of persons wanting to take over Nigeria. Are you getting me? If we have this type of consciousness in our security agencies, I can assure you Nigeria will be sweeter again. For you and I, where you and I will go out peacefully, do our business legitimately without having, any fear of insecurity. So being loyal to the country, being sacrificial to the country, being committed and dedicated to the country, that is actually what is missing in the adrenaline or the blood vessels of the Nigerian. You see, our blood, of course, normally is red. But if you are a good Nigerian, your blood should automatically turn green-red, because the color of your nation is green. And everyone must try to look at it like this. People badmouth Nigeria. Even Nigerians badmouth Nigerians. But the truth of the matter is that Nigeria is held down in the jugular today. In the jugular today is the cause of our inability to move on. And who is causing it? Nigerians at large. So we need a systematic orientation, reorientation, and value appreciation to be loyal to the country, not loyal to your family and friends or to your religion of Islam or Christianity. Because Nigeria, as I speak to you, ought to be, by 1989 constitution, a secular state. But you see that in Nigeria today, It is either people are loyal to their various Islamic religion of different sects or Christian religion of different denomination. So the nation is left to bleed. But you need Nigeria. Nigeria is the first entity that existed before you can even be born into it, and also now have the privilege or liberty to practice whatever religion that you are practicing. So your religion cannot be above Nigeria.
If I'm coming, Mr. Ajayi, so we're going to go from ideal. What you're talking about is the ideal, but the reality is totally different. But let's stay with, you know, some of the things we're facing in terms of the reality. There are two sets of people primarily that has been rigged out of public governance system. I'm talking about politics. Those without a significant war chest, which is why we have a lot of godfathers bringing them into the system and perpetrating their own agenda, their own philosophy, their own ideology, no matter how warped it is. And then you have young people that have been rigged out of the system, so you see them more interested in creative economy and the rest of them. So how do we rejig the system? Because the bad part, again, is the fact that some of the people who are the establishment today, some of them in their 70s, some of them in their 80s, some of them in their 60s, are now replacing themselves strategically with their own children. So it looks like we're in for that cycle. How do we work around this complexity?
Thank you very much. Let me just react by saying that first and foremost, as a philosopher that I told you I am, you must be idealistic in your orientation. What ought to be is against what is. It is because in Nigeria, we don't even understand what ought to be, the values that we want to have for ourselves. That is why you now have the what is, the reality that you are talking about, that is neither here nor there, that all of us are complaining about, that you have to write stories and make programs on like this one that we are doing now. So that is why I am strategically telling you that we must be idealistic first and foremost. What is proper? What do we want as a people? Before we now start, once we identify that, we will now start to implement so that it becomes what is. But a situation whereby you just think that only what is what the issue, the question I want to now ask you is, that what is, how did you come about it? Is it not from the idealistic tendencies of people? Corruption is what is in Nigeria. So what is in our ideals in Nigeria is corruption, and we are saying no to that. Now, coming quickly to your question. Everybody will not be, into economics and entrepreneurs in a country. So also, everyone will not be a politician in the country. That is why I talked to you earlier about ideology. What is the ideology that Nigeria has in terms of policy? Where do we want to go in the next 20 years? What is the roadmap, the blueprint of where we want to get to in terms of science, technology, education, health, and every other component of life that others are enjoying, that is making our people to run there, even at the struggling of getting visas and what have you. If those people can do it in their country, we can do it in our own. Now, when the dangerous tendency in Nigeria now, like you rightly said, is that fathers into politics, as soon as they are winding up or rounding off with their own tenures, they now bring their children to want to take over from them. What about the children of the others? Because there is no enabling environment, which is not the ideal. The ideal is such that everyone should work, contribute to the common goal and commonwealth of a nation, so that your children, as you are in the studio there, your children should be able to have the opportunity to say, if my daddy, if my mommy was not able to do this, but as God laid in my heart, I should be able to do this for the betterment of the society of our country, so that at the end of the day, you will now earn accolades, awards for bringing, greatness to your family. So the idea of transferring political power from father to son in a constituency, in a senatorial constituency, or in a state constituency, or even in a House of Assembly constituency, shouldn't be like that, because we are not practicing monarchy. A monarchy is a system of government where you have kings, and when kings dies, they will hand it over to their children. But democracy is government of the people, by the people, and for the people. So that means if you do your own today, people will appreciate you, and your own may not even be the best. So also your son may even come and be better than you, but in most cases, it shouldn't be your son or your daughter, even though I know they have a right to aspire as well, but you should leave it open. Don't be playing the type of Machiavellian godfatherism where if you feel that you produce somebody, then the person must come and be bowing down to you.
You and I are awaiting El Dorado, and I believe everyone on this table and on the other side of the divide. We're waiting El Dorado, or if you like, Uhuru. We're not there yet. Let's stay with what seems to be the reality at this point in time. And we know that some of the biggest issues that Nigeria currently face would be the security challenge. Many Nigerians are talking about the tax laws right now, and there are issues of hunger and agricultural development, if you like, a fair share of progress and some concerns as well. Do you see a commensurate level of attention, either it's at the federal level or at the subnational level, being directed towards these areas of concerns as against 2027?
Well, thank you very much. You guys are the reporters. You are the shapers of the minds of Nigerians. So, for me, it has been the character of our people that no sooner than they get into political office, of whatever office they are holding, whether House of Assembly, House of Reps, Senate.
All right, we hope we get philosopher Ajayi back on the program to conclude his thoughts, but he does present, interesting viewpoints as far as what should be and what we currently have. And we're hoping that, Nigeria gets even halfway to that, picture that he paints of the ideals in politics of ideology, rather than politics of, interests and, prosperity, as we often see, a space that is dominated more by the elite than by, the people who yearn for, a Nigeria of their dreams, a Nigeria where everyone is well represented in the political space, and of course, in socioeconomic development and advancement, a Nigeria where everyone can be, proud of, even outside the country. It's been an interesting time out with Mr. David Ajayi. We hope to get him back to get a sense of, some of his political convictions. But we must anchor at this point and thank him. Mr. David Ajayi, thank you for coming on the program. We look forward to another time out with you. Thank you, sir, for coming.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
We'll take a moment now. When we return, we'll focus on developments in the Labour Party. Justice Peter Lufo of the High Court in Abuja has indeed affirmed the Nanadi Usman group of the Labour Party as the authentic leadership of the party that INEC should do business with, and in fact everyone, and has sacked the Julius Abure group of the party. What are the implications of this? Stay with us as Mr. Abayomi Arabambi joins us in just a moment.
Well, let's talk about global affairs. Yes, we'll get to politics in Nigeria in a moment, but global issues are also of big concern to us, particularly the trends we've seen in recent weeks. And we're joined on the program by Ambassador Joe Keshi, a former permanent secretary, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, joins us virtually on the program. Good morning, Ambassador. You're welcome to the program. I'm just going to ask you squarely, do you think we've averted a crisis, the Greenland crisis, with what you heard President Trump say in Davos yesterday?
Helped them for so many years. We've never gotten anything.
Ambassador Keshi, just want to confirm if you can hear me. Yes, we heard President Trump, but I hope you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you.
So I'm going to take my question again, and it's quite simple. Do you think we've averted a global catastrophe with what you heard President Trump say yesterday in Davos, or we just maybe postponed the evil day?
I think time will tell. Given the who Trump is, what you heard yesterday was not actually a foreign policy speech. You have to situate what you heard yesterday against the America that Trump left behind. He was celebrating his first 1 year in office with a very poor popularity rating. His decision, his pronouncement that he was going to take Greenland by force led to negative showing by the stock market that was just falling, very, very fast. And I think that struck a message to Trump himself. So by the time he got to Davos, I think he was in the mood to play up to his domestic audience. And what you heard was typically Trump, but with particular reference to whether it's a reassuring speech about what will happen to Greenland in particular. I think we have to wait and see, because nobody knows the details of the deal he said he has made. But from the little that we have gathered, it has to do more with extending the existing agreement to allow probably a little bit more of American space within the Greenland. But beyond that, everything you heard was typically Trump. He went after his enemies, called them names, abuses those he can abuse, and the rest of it. So it's typically a Trump speech, and nothing unpredictable.
I want to see if we can draw a line to what's happening over there with perhaps what's happening here, or the impact it will have on Nigeria, Africa, trade, security even. But I must also mention what we've seen President Trump do in recent days, sharing screenshots of messages with French President Mark Rutte, putting up pictures, literally targeting the UK, using words you're not expect him to use of that country. Do you worry that all of the things happening, the uncertainties, would impact Nigeria, Africa, and in what way, if I may ask, do you see this, particularly with Trump's board of peace that he's trying to develop? Please go ahead, sir.
No, look, you have to understand. I think that we all have to try and understand the Trump phenomenon and who Trump is and how Trump operates. When you understand that very clearly, you probably be a little bit worried as to you are now that nothing of the board of peace. The board of peace was not established to restore sanity or to rebuild Gaza. The board of peace was simply established for Trump, to participate transactionally. You cannot be establishing a board of peace and offering those who want to join to pay $1 billion? $1 billion. That's not a serious proposition to start with. The Gaza needs a steady, systematic rebuilding, and not the kind of, shenanigan that Trump is putting on and inviting every sort of characters who do not even agree to be on the board. So I do not place much hope on the board of peace. I'm not too sure, frankly speaking, I'm not too sure that Trump cares about the people of Gaza. I just think that he cares about himself and Netanyahu. Both of them are driving this the narrative about the board of peace. But like I said, we just almost learn to live or to accept the Trump phenomenon. Nothing is unusual with Trump. He has become very predictable. And you can almost, you know, he's gone to Davos. He's not coming back. His home base is very happy because they thought that he projected strength and audacity, you know, while at Davos. But the truth of the matter is that he has again changed his position on Greenland, and he's coming back with practically nothing but a rehash of what they, I mean, to take a second look at the existing agreement and see whether America can, you know, can gain more. Besides, beyond that, there's practically nothing spectacular that came out of
his speech,
out of Davos, and that's why I'm saying to you, the speech was not an international speech, a foreign policy speech. It was meant for the domestic audience to store up its falling popularity after 1 year in office.
Well, we're waiting to see if there's any country that would actually pay the $1 billion for a permanent membership of his board of peace. But Ambassador, we have to thank you so much. I mean, you joined us in spite of the connection constraints. We've been speaking with Ambassador Joe Keshi, former permanent secretary at Nigeria's Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Thank you for your time, sir. So that's it, a look at what's happening globally, but let's come back to Nigeria. The Labour Party is going through a lot right now, particularly with the court's pronouncement yesterday recognizing the Nnamdi Usman-led executive. It's not a board of peace, but let's find out if there is some peace in the Labour Party at last. Guys.
So we have joining us Ms. Bayomi Arabambi, is the chairman of the Southwest region of the Labour Party. Johnson right here in our Lagos City. Mr. Arabambi, I know you went through hell and warm waters to get here, but it's worth it. So the time we have, let's make do of it. The last time you were here, you were like, oh, all the enemies of our party, they have all gone to wherever they want to go to. Then boom, the court struck and said, look, hey, Abure, your time has elapsed. Go stay somewhere else. Nnamdi Usman is in charge of this party. How does this make you feel?
Well, thank you very much. I am before an international television, and I came here with the certified true copy of the Supreme Court judgment upon which the judge predicated his judgment yesterday. And I want to read for 1 minute what the issue that was distilled for determination. One, Nnamdi was asking Supreme Court to determine the substantive claim relief in the suit that it is a subject of leadership of the respondent Labour Party over which a court has no jurisdiction, same not being justiciable. That's one. Two, whether the decision or ratio decidency in the appeal, whether that judgment can also, you know, whether that court can also make pronouncement. That is court of appeal. That is the second issue. And the third one was that whether the determination of the court below that the truth of that suit, that is to say, substantive issue in this suit is subject of national leadership, whether same is justiciable or not. That was the ground 3 of the case. And Justice Okon Iyang, in his ruling, said, Okonabank, he said, permit me at this point to reiterate the tried position of the law that if a court is bereft of jurisdiction to entertain the main relief in an action, it will not have the jurisdiction to entertain the ancillary claim. More so, if the ancillary claim will inevitably involve discussion on the main claim. In summary, both the trial court and the court below has no jurisdiction to entertain the suit of the first respondent, which main relief, as the board rightly observed, was inserted in the rule number 5, where the decision of both the trial court and below pronouncing anybody as national chairman of a party is hereby struck out for want of jurisdiction. Now, the final word there is this, because we need to make some issues clear. After the judgment, my Lord proceeded by saying, before I am done, may I admonish political parties and their members to endeavor to always allow their constitution, rule, regulation, and guidelines to guide them in choosing their officers as well as candidates. That way, incessant insanity which always find their way to court will be reduced if the constitution of a political party stipulate a prescribed ratio of tenure of office of an officer. Such an officer should humble enough to live at the expiration of his tenure. Now,
because of time, I think we'll get the import of the case.
No, where I'm going
yes,
is this.
Yes,
we were told, though, we have not been given the CTC. In law, I stand to be corrected by one, the Nigeria Judicial Council, the Chief Justice of Nigeria, and even the chairman of NBA, that there is something in law they call ratio decidency and obiter dictum. An opinion of a judge does not form part of the judgment, but the ratio decidency of this judgment was the court lacked jurisdiction to pronounce the issue of leadership, and we all saw it in Anyang versus Ode case in PDP, which Supreme Court in Pretorium of Authority has said no court can make pronouncement. It's an internal affair of the party. But yesterday, we were shocked that in Nigeria, we have broken another record where we are the first to be spending 2 types of denomination for one currency. It is only in Nigeria, but we didn't enter Guinness Book of Record. Again, a judge of the Federal High Court has successfully reviewed the judgment of Supreme Court in Nigeria. I know that one will also not enter the Guinness Book of Record. The judge claimed the Supreme Court said the tenure of Abure has expired. I am hereby stating clearly that I will offer myself for prosecution to the police if the Supreme Court ever says so, with what the judge said. That is what, the Nenadi people are saying. But once we can see that in the judgment, it means the way Satan was thrown from heaven to the abyss, of the bottomless pit. That is the way the Supreme Court, Court of Appeal will trust that judgment when we file our appeal today and motion for stay of execution. That judgment is not going to stand because as a lower court and Court of Appeal, it is essentially clear from this that issue of leadership is not justiciable. What Nenadi filed was challenging the judgment of Omotosho and the Court of Appeal that they have no right to make pronouncement. But yesterday, they were celebrating their young festival that, we have now been pronounced as the leadership, knowing fully well that what they pontificated upon here is what they now, ran a twist.
Well, Mr. Arabambi,
again yesterday.
You're clearly, this is painful for you. I can hear the pain in your voice. And,
because as a Nigerian,
it's painful.
I'm a little bit shocked.
But Justice Lifu said, particularly about the internal affairs of political parties, saying that it's non-justiciable. He held that the setting up of the LP Caretaker Committee was a necessity that arose from the order of the Supreme Court. Just to speak to what you said, but that aside, there are a lot of people who see this as a trap for Mr. Peter Obi. That now that the judge has ruled in favor of Nenadi Usman, that Mr. Peter Obi will be tempted to come back to the party, and then you will appeal, and then it will go to it will swing your way. So a lot of people don't even trust this whole process, and they think that you are setting a trap for Mr. Peter.
No, they were celebrating yesterday. I think there was a meeting they had between 12 and 2:30, where he said that was the reason why Ab initio did not, obtain the card of ADC up to now. Himself and Governor Lesotho, they are co-travelers. They knew what they were doing, and they said, at the end of the day, you can now come back. But we will definitely file appeal today and a motion for stay of execution. And I'm very sure within the next 40 days, the Court of Appeal will trash this judgment into the dustbin. It will be trashed.
We're totally out of time. Yeah. We'll leave that to the Court of Appeal, but the standing judgment now is that, of course, we know membership. There are two issues, actually. Leadership and membership are not justiciable, except for nomination of candidates according to Section 8415 of the Electoral Act. That you can head to court. But now it's going to be before have you filed for stay of execution?
It will be filed today.
Okay, fantastic. So we wish you had come earlier. Sorry for the trouble we had to face. We wanted to expand this conversation, but we'll continue to explore it. But must thank you, Mr. Abami Arabambi, for coming on the program. We appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And that's it on the program. Thanks for your time and company. I'm Jeffrey Ozama. Bye-bye.
Sunrise Daily is up next. We'll return tomorrow for the home stretch. I am Bukola Koka. Bye for now.
And I'm Goodbye.